Hello and welcome to Walk the Talk. I am Shekhar Gupta in Velangiri Hills, in fact foothills on the outskirts of Coimbatore. And my guest today, somebody who sometimes is described as a monk on a motorcycle, but today, the monk in a Land Rover. No. Sadhguru Jagi Vasudev, welcome to Walk the Talk.
It's no more a Land Rover, it's a Tata now.
That's your luck. But you are an unusual mystic. In fact, you describe yourself as an unusual mystic.
I think every mystic has been unusual, always. If he's usual, why would he be a mystic?
But when you describe yourself as an unusual mystic, and as an unusual among mystics, what makes you unusual?
The usual belongs to people who imitate. Only if you imitate somebody, you become usual. When you come out of your original nature, you are just natural.
But by definition, do mystics imitate? Or
no, but if scholars could imitate, sadhus and sannyasis could imitate because they're following a certain order. Mystic is someone who is coming from his inner understanding and inner experience, so there's no question of imitation. So he looks unusual, actually he is just natural. Because people are used to so much repetitiveness in everything, when somebody just comes out of his own nature, people think he's unusual.
So what makes you different? What sets you apart?
The only thing… see, I don't come from any scholarship. I have not read the Vedas or the Upanishads. I must confess, I have not even read the Gita. The only thing…
not a confession many in your business want to make. I mean, I'm not guaranteeing everybody in your business has read them, but they all claim they have.
The only thing that I know is, I know this piece of life absolutely, from its origin to its ultimate. I know only this piece of life. If you know this piece of life absolutely, you almost know everything that's worth knowing, because looking inward, nothing else.
Tell us a little bit about your experiences. You started as a regular guy,
Even now I'm very regular.
Except maybe the beard and the…
Beard is a very regular thing. It grows on all men. It's… unfortunately, people think this is irregular, but people have cut it and shaved it in different ways, that's irregular. This is the way nature made you.
So would you rather that all men have…
No, this is not a prescription. I was just joking with you. This is not a prescription that… I'm not trying to make a fashion statement or something. All I'm saying is, when you make your system very sensitive, when you make your system work at its peak, then everything matters. Even the smallest disturbance to the system makes a difference. It's like you're driving your Maruti to the office, it doesn't matter in what condition it is. You want to be on the F1 track, now you have to keep your machine in a different way. So if you want to explore other dimensions of life…
That's interesting. How do you… what do you mean by… the implication is that you have yourself, your mind and body on the F1 track.
Yes.
F1 track of what and what does it mean to be there?
So if you can use this system just as a biological entity, just for eating, sleeping, reproducing and dying one day. Or you could use this system as a ladder to the divine, in the sense, you can use this system as a stepping stone to go beyond. So if you're using this system to explore dimensions beyond your present level of experience, then you have to keep it in a certain way. Then how you eat, how you sit, how you stand, how you breathe, everything becomes relevant to you. The whole system of yoga is based on this. Why so much significance is being given?
And then why are you on F1 track? we in the rat race should be on F1 track. You are cool, you're a realized master.
Don't you think F1 is cool?
You have no issues in life. You've sorted it out. And you're helping people like us sort it out.
See, there's nothing to be… there's nothing to sort out in life. It is the mess is created by you, so you have to sort out. I am not teaching people how to sort out their lives.
Right.
I'm teaching people how not to mess it.
So tell us a little bit about your early days.
Early days, See, when I was… one thing about me was, since I was 3–4 months of age, I'm talking about a young infant. Even as an infant, what happened around me, things that happened around me, simple things, I'm not talking about some earth-shaking event. Simple things like what color of saree my mother was wearing, what she was talking to somebody, I was in the crib. I remember all that even today. So my memory was such that somehow it set me apart because I carried information which other children wouldn't probably.
Right.
So I would say how I was thinking when I was 5 years of age, I think I still think the same way. Either I never was a child or never grew up, whichever way. So it set me apart and I started looking at life in a different way. So I was a skeptic, nothing made any sense to me. I never entered a temple, you know. If my family was not very religious, but once in a way they go to a temple. Even if they go to the temple, when I was just 5 years of age, I have questions. If they couldn't answer the questions, I won't enter the temple. They never got to answer the questions, so I never went into the temple. So this made me extremely skeptical about everything, which naturally made me ask all kinds of questions. One thing is, I never let myself be identified either with the family or with the culture or the religious process that was happening around me, or anything for that matter, which kept me looking and looking in a certain way. When I was just 11 years of age, just by chance I happened to learn a simple process of yoga, and I kept that practice up. And later on I finished my university, I got into business and I was doing well for myself. To be peaceful and happy was never an issue for me.
What kind of business? Poultry farming, I believe, once?
Yes, I got into this mainly because I had dreams of traveling around the world on my motorcycle, so I thought I'll do some kind of business which will give me enough money and I can wind up the thing and later on travel.
Right.
So at that time the poultry industry was in a boom, so I decided to go for that. And from the scratch I started this. My father was a very known physician in the town and for him it was a no-no thing. He said, how will I tell anybody that my son is raising chicken? So I had to do it all on my own and it came up well, I made money. Then somehow I got into construction industry, then I got into various other businesses. But then on a certain afternoon, between two business meetings when I had nothing to do, I just rode up Chamundi Hill. This is so for, for all the young boys in Mysore.
Right.
If you have nothing to do, you go up Chamundi Hill. Right. If you want to test your motorcycle, you go up Chamundi Hill. If you want to meditate, you go up Chamundi Hill. If you want to gossip, you go up Chamundi Hill. Chamundi Hill is the place.
Right.
So between two business meetings in the afternoon, I just went to Chamundi Hill. This was around 3 o'clock in the afternoon and I just went and sat there. I parked my motorcycle, climbed up and just went and sat on a rock which I knew very well, a huge rock. And my eyes were still open. My eyes were still open and till that moment, I always thought this is me.
Right.
Suddenly I did not know which is me and which is not me. What was me was just all over the place. That sounds ridiculous and absolutely illogical, but that was my experience and I thought this lasted just for 5 to 10 minutes, but when I came back to my normal senses, about 4.5 hours had passed. I was sitting right there. For the first time in my adult life, there were tears in my eyes. Me and tears were just impossible. But tears were happening to such a point, my shirt was wet. I was just completely blissed out. I was somehow, every cell in my body was bursting with ecstasy for which I had no words.